Pubs aren't just about drinking. They're cozy, quirky, and they're such a big part of the British life that I embrace. If you're new here, my name's Lisa. I'm from the United States originally, but I've been here for 2 decades, and I'm a big fan of the pub culture here. So here are 5 things that make British pubs so special. The first one is the community atmosphere. When I first came to Britain, my friends explained the pub as an extension of the sitting room because people didn't always have the space or necessarily the desire to have people over. So having a pub was a nice third place to go to. There's this phrase here called your local, and it could mean it's just your nearest pub. But I think for a lot of people, it's the pub that they go to where they feel most at home, very welcomed. What I mean by community is pubs are often very central to things like supporting charity events. And a lot of pubs can be part of a walking route, either at the start or a midway point, which is a wonderful way to experience a walk. And I just love it. Dogs are welcome. It's just a really nice atmosphere. I have some friends in Southern England where the pub in their village is this social anchor. Groups of people get together regularly, multiple times a week, and get together for a chat and a pint or 3. Sometimes a cheeky half, but that's less common. The conversation covers everything that you would get from any group in the world. By comparison, I don't think a lot of bars in the US have the same community feel. If anything, it feels more like a business, very transactional. And you might, recognize people, but it doesn't go as deep. When I was in Australia, it also felt like it was more similar to the British style of pub, which I also thought was really nice. Even though it's not normally called a pub, it's called a hotel. Of course, a pub isn't a pub without what's behind the bar, so let's talk about the drinks. The second thing I really love is the vast drink selection. So if you love beer, usually you're in luck. I'm also a big fan of cider, so always nice if there's a cider on draft. And of course, sometimes you're in the mood for wine, so having some wine choices is always nice. Spirits, there's lots of choices, but what I want to say is that there's a lot more non-alcoholic options that people are even aware of. Well, put it this way, when I have people from the US come to visit, they just assume it's only beer available or maybe some spirits. And no, that's not quite the case. And what they don't realize is there's quite a few non-alcoholic options as well. Occasionally, I like to mix it up with an orange juice and soda or a lime cordial and soda. I'd love if you could share your non-alcoholic or your low-alcohol options in the comments, just out of curiosity. Well, what did I order the other day? Oh, Campari and soda. That was actually quite nice too. Quite light. I don't go along with the eating is cheating philosophy. A pint's always better with something to go alongside it. And that brings me to the food. The third one is pub food. I love pub food, but I do think that pubs can go slightly wrong. I think there's 2 models. Either go all in on the food and make it really, really good, or just keep it really basic, like things that you don't have to cook, like sandwiches or crisps or pork pies or sauce. What am I saying? Scotch eggs. That's what I was trying to do. Where I think it goes wrong for some pubs is they try to kind of half-ass it with the food and they're heating up frozen stuff. And I don't know, it doesn't always work out. So, but anyway, going back to the idea of good food. I know there's this term gastropub. Some people hate it, whatever. Not whatever, but I really like good food. I really love a good Sunday roast, a really good burger. Yeah, there's probably some other favorites, but I want to move on. Eating and drinking and people are great, but what really keeps people coming back are the things that make pubs extra fun. The fourth one is pub activities. The big one is the pub quiz. That's the best, my favorite thing to do, especially when you have a regular team. I don't have one of those at the moment, but hopefully someday. What makes a pub quiz team so strong is if it's multi-generational, because then you have different levels of knowledge, different specialty subjects. And you have to have somebody who knows sports on the team, and that's not me. Other activities will be things like board games, darts. I've been to places that have Skittle alleys. That's pretty cool. Also, there's a tabletop game called Shut the Box. I haven't played that in many years, but I would be sad if these things completely disappear. If you do play in a pub quiz team, I'd love to know, well, even if you don't, but what's the best team name you've ever heard? Because I think this is sometimes often the hardest question. And when the weather is decent, there's only one place you'll find everyone, and that's the pub garden. The fifth one is the pub gardens. This is this magical place that you can be outside, get some fresh air, and enjoy a nice beverage, especially nice on a summer's day, but I'm happy when the sun is out, and even if it's cold and you're bundled up and you can still be outside. In this village pub that I frequent, the pub garden, there's dogs and kids playing with each other, and it's really nice, and the adults are kind of sat away, but keeping an eye on things, obviously. So those are the 5 things I love most about pubs. But here's the bittersweet truth. Pubs are magical, and yet they're disappearing. Probably people know this already, but pubs are disappearing at an alarming rate. It sounds as if that the costs are rising and it's not getting any better. I know that younger generations aren't drinking as much either. I'll throw the latest stats from Camera up on the screen. That's the Campaign for Real Ale. And they're really, really about supporting the traditional pub, traditional beverages. They published the Good Pub Guide, which is awesome. Check it out. As there's so many closures, it's just making me feel like these memories of pub quiz triumphs and beers out in the garden. It's more precious. And every time I go, I just think, is this going to be here in 6 months? I used to live really close to the Carlton Tavern in North London. And when I first moved to the neighborhood, I walked past this pub. It looked very warm and welcoming. I didn't go in because 2 days later, these jackass developers tore it down, or they tore part of it down. And of course, that was not allowed. They actually hadn't the permission to do that. The community was in a huge uproar, as they should be. And yeah, as it turns out, they had to rebuild the whole thing. My call to action is support your local if you can. So those are my favorites. What would be on your list? Share those in the comments. If you haven't seen it yet, maybe watch my video, 9 British habits that are easy to pick up and hard to drop. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.